AgriGold, we know corn.
My name is John Breen with AgriGold Hybrids. Today we're doing the second step in getting your corn planter ready to go to the field. Last video we talked about doing the mechanical fixing, the mechanical adjustments in your shop. Today we're going to do something called a dry run. This is that step between your shop and the field. The last thing you want to do when the weather's nice, the sun is shining, the soil conditions are fit, is to stop and make adjustments to your planter. You want to have it ready so that when you start planting, you're ready to roll. And today we're going to show you how to do that in your driveway so that when you hit the field, your planter is ready to go. So what is a dry run? Why do we want to perform a dry run? Well, a dry run is simply taking your corn planter out of the shop, putting it in your driveway, setting it down and driving 10 to 15 feet. This allows us to make marks in our driveway from our starter fertilizer, our double disc openers, and our closing wheels to help us line that whole planter up before we hit the field. In the field, it's awful hard to determine spacing between all of these devices, and it's also very hard to stop and make those adjustments when the sun is shining. We've done our dry run. Now we're looking at the first thing, our starter fertilizer. We want to make sure that all of our rows of starter fertilizer have ran. So we're looking for wet, we're looking for moisture, we're looking for indications that those all rows operational. So if one row is plugged, we want to fix it, but this right now we're just doing a visual check to make sure all the system is flowing. The second thing we want to look for in our dry run is our seed and our metering system. So we won't be able to tell how the spacing and singulation of our meters, because when those seeds hit the ground they will roll and bounce. But what we're looking for is making sure that the meters work, the seed tube's not plugged, and that we are getting seed drop on every row. So look at every row, make sure that you have seed present, and it looks like it's about even through all the rows. The third thing we want to look at after our dry run is if you run starter fertilizer, mainly a 2x2 application. We want to take the time to make sure that each row is the same distance apart from each other. So if you're going for 2 inches over, we want to make sure every row is 2 inches over. So we just simply take our tape measure, we attach it to the double disc opener, and we just move it over to the line that our 2x2 coulters have made. Quick, easy way to determine how far away our 2x2 applicators are. If we need to make adjustments, now is a great time to do that, to move them in or out, to make sure they're all at the uniform spacing. So the challenge with starter fertilizer, it's a great benefit to young corn plants. It adds great nutrient value and helps get corn off to a great start. But the problem is we're also playing with fire. Our starter fertilizers can be hot, can be corrosive, can be very damaging to those young corn plants by causing what we call salt burn, essentially drawing all the moisture out of that seed or seedling and causing that seed or seedling to die. So how we mitigate that is by making sure that our starter fertilizer is over to at least 2 inches or more away from that seed furrow. That soil between the seed and the starter acts as a buffer. What happens if that starter fertilizer is too close to the seed, we don't have enough buffer, and that fertilizer injures the seed, we lose stand, and we lose profit potential. The fourth thing we're looking for in the dry run is our closing wheel alignment. We don't give much thought to the closing wheels. They're kind of the last thing we think of, but we don't give them the consideration they deserve. We want to make sure those closing wheels are centered over the middle of the row so that we get that nice tight closing action that we're looking for. If those closing wheels are misaligned, we have a potential of not getting good soil to seed contact. We have the potential to have seed dug out of our trench. We have the potential to have a less than desirable stand. Our mechanical work's done in the shop. We've performed our dry run. Now we're just ready to get to the field. So when the weather's right and the soil conditions are good, there are 3 more things that we need to do to have our planter ready to go. The first one is to check planting depth. We want to make sure that every row on that planter is planting at the same depth. Finding that depth can be very challenging and difficult and even frustrating. So the easiest way that I have found to check that is to put your corn planter on the ground, run it along, stop, pick it directly up, and between the double disc openers and your closing wheels, your seed trench is going to be wide open. Take your tape measure, stick it down to the bottom of that trench. That gives you a very good idea of your planting depth. You can check all your rows in a matter of minutes, make adjustments, set the planter down and go ahead a little bit more, raise it up and double check to make sure again. The second thing we want to do is check the levelness of our planter. Make sure it's running level. Go to the hardware store and buy a couple small levels that have magnets on them. Put one on the frame, one on the tongue. As you're going through the field, you can very easily eyeball whether or not that planter is running level. The third thing that we need to do is have someone, if possible, ride behind our corn planter on a four-wheeler or a gator. That gives us that last bit of bird's eye view of what that corn planter is doing. Are all of our bearings running properly? Is our metering system running smoothly? Is our vacuum running the way we want it to? All these things we can't see from a tractor seat, but we can see from behind the planter. Just gives us that last bit of assurance that our corn planter is ready to go. After those simple steps, you're off planting corn.